Hello, you are at the Cassette Tape and Court Date channel with me, Crazy Nana, or you can just call me No Nonsense Nana, or No Nonsense Nen, or just call me Crazy, whatever you want to call me. Anyways, new channel, new for me, anyways. So the reason why it's called Cassette Tape and Court Dates is because I wanted to do a whole Gen X crime, current crime kind of show. So anyways, so this is going to be episode 1. I'm only going to do about 30 minutes. So this will be episode 1, part 1. Does that make sense? So the name of this episode is Stranger Danger and Sealed Bottles, the Gen X wake-up call. Now this episode, or this, what I call it, 2-part series, has to do with things that Gen X, that we saw, that we went through, or heard about, or in the news, and that actually changed some laws and really affected the nation. So that's where we're at, and here you are, we're Gen X. So as you can see, we got some stuff hanging on the wall back there. That's a little Madonna shirt back there with the little pink belt around it, and then the other pink shirt that's next to it that's a guy's pop-up collar shirt, and then just some other stuff that I had. And I have not hung up my MTV shirt yet. Anyways, I'm so glad you're here. It's gonna be so much fun. I love our era, right? Gen X, we're the coolest. I don't care what anyone says, we're the coolest, and our kids are cool. So anyways, let's begin. So what I'm going to talk about, one more thing, sorry. As I am talking about the story and what I've learned, I'm going to be doing like a little arts and craft project, which, just so I can stay busy. And I have my notes right here too, so if you see me looking back and forth, it's because I have my notes. And the story that we're going to talk about is, well, I don't want to give away yet, but the source that I used was let's see, I know I sourced it because I don't want to get in trouble. Okay, so it was I'm gonna say it right now. So it's the Adam Walsh source, and it is on the missingkids.org blog by Patricia Davis, and this was done last July, I believe. So this is where I kind of picked up my information from. So back in 1981, right, when she's got Betty Davis eyes, right? And Jesse's girl, right? And celebration, come on. Okay, so those were the jams, right? Those were the jams. So along with those jams, there were some, ups and downs, of course, just like there is today, and some struggles. So Gen X is the latchkey kids, right? So we were the ones that had to stay home by ourselves, pretty much take care of everything because our parents worked. Or I think, well, for me, I had a single parent, so it was between my mom and my brother who would take care of me as well. But we would go home and we would, go home from school, do our homework, do our chores, because we had like laundry to do, dishes to do, things like that. And then we could go hang out, roller skating or riding the bikes, or we used to walk around at the apartments. I used to live in apartments. I lived there for 11 years, and this was back in San Jose. And we used to just hang out. So we stayed home alone, but we got stuff done. We were very self-sufficient, right? Right, Gen X? We're very self-sufficient, and we got stuff done, so we handled it. Now, 1981, there was a woman by the name of, oh my gosh, I hope I say her name right. I believe her name is Reva or Reve, but it's John Walsh's wife. And her son, only son at the time, was Adam, and he was 6 years old. And they went to a mall in Hollywood, Florida. And she wanted to go buy I think it was a lamp. She needed like a lamp. So she was going to go check out the lamps, and little Adam asked if he could hang out at the toy department, right? Which, that's what we used to do. I mean, come on. We don't want to go look at lamps. We want to check out the toys. So, of course, she said, yeah. And when she was done, getting her lamp, and she went to go to the toy department to go get Adam. And he wasn't there. He was nowhere to be found. So of course she goes into panic mode, and there is a security guard there. And the security guard says something like, there was like a bunch of kids, I guess, there because there was like a video game of some sort going on, and so like all the kids were like, I don't know, playing some sort of video game. I don't know which game. I don't know if it was like, I'm thinking like the big arcade games, but it doesn't really say. So anyways, so they got thrown out. And but Adam was nowhere to be found. So of course, panic mode really sets in. And when John is notified, right? John Walsh, he gets there, and they cannot find him, and they really just feel kind of, helpless. I mean, back in 1981, what do we have? Nothing, right? So John Walsh, tells the FBI, because, FBI comes when it comes to children, right? So he tells them, hey, like, can't you look up my son in the FBI National Database? At the time, that wasn't a thing. You could look up cars, and I think it even said like horses. So, but no kids. You cannot find a child in the FBI National Database. Like, you couldn't put it in the system so that everybody, would know. So of course he's, frustrated, and it's just horrible. Just imagine your only child, 6 years old, gone, like just gone. So anyway, so 2 weeks later, they end up finding Adam, and he was deceased, and he was found like in I want to say like I'm going to my notes, like I think they said it was like some sort of like drainage canal. So I'm thinking that's where the stuff comes out of the pipes, maybe, because I don't think he was like found in the actual like drainage. So I'm thinking like out by what says canal, so out there, right? He was deceased, and I will not get into the. I won't get graphic. So if you want to look up the story, you can just always look up, Adam Walsh, and yeah, it was not good at all. Anyways, they never found a suspect at the time, right? At that time, they didn't have anyone. So fast forward 2 years later, there's a serial, probably can't say the word, but there's a serial somebody out there doing things, and he gets caught, and he is going to prison, and it's like another huge story, right? Because this is like a serial that got caught. So John Walsh, in his gut, he just knew that this guy, and the serial person was Otis Toole. That's Toole. So he was, I want to say it was children as well. And, so John Walsh just knew that it was him in his gut. He just knew it was him. So, but there was nothing. Anyways, the guy goes to prison, and he tells some prison inmates there that he told them about the other people that he, and mentioned Adam. And even though he had told these inmates, it just wasn't enough. They couldn't really prosecute him. They couldn't charge him because they didn't have anything. Nothing. No evidence, no nothing. So, John and his wife have to just kind of push forward. But they're not just going to push forward and let this go. So imagine, you're trying to get your child, you go to the FBI, there's nothing that you can put in the system to get it out. There's no Amber Alert, there's none of that, right? So he's stewing. And at the same time that he's angry, there is like a huge support system from like everyone, for over 40,000 letters of support that him and his wife received. Imagine, just blown away, just because this story was nationwide. This was just huge, right? I mean, it was pretty bad. So it was nationwide. John Walsh was not going to be quiet. He was not just going to, no. He made sure that it was on the news every day. So, of course, like I said, no. So that's why they got these letters. And so now they're like, okay, so why don't we do something? So him and his wife start I'm trying to make a little blast. They want to make a resource center. So they make a small little resource center. And let me see. It is called, what was it called? At that time, it was some little, it was the Adam Walsh Resource Center. So it was just like a small little office that they had in South Florida. And, and I don't know if I mentioned that. This was in Hollywood, Florida, where it happened. So him and his wife start the resource center, with all the support from all the people that are, letting them know that they're, getting to help them out, whatever, however they can. And so John and his wife are like, wow. So they opened up the center. Now they have a center where people can come in that are missing their children, and they can try to help them with resources and help them get the word out or whatever they need to do. Now, at the same time this is going on, John Walsh is going like all over the country. I mean, he's on the news every day. He's not just going to stand by. So he's going to the media and he's just like telling people, get your children's fingerprints done, right? So smart, so smart. And I will never forget this. I remember like telling my mom we needed to do my fingerprints, like, because this story really scared me. Like, it was so just like, it was just covered like every day. So I'm not gonna lie, I was a little scared, So they gave you these cards, like they were little white cards, and you just put your little fingerprints in it. And I think they had them at the schools, if I remember correctly. And so I got my fingerprints done. I'm sure, I bet you if I asked my mom, she might still have them. But anyways, I'll have to check. So yeah, so everyone's getting their children's fingerprints done. John Walsh is not letting this. Now, not only is John Walsh going around and advocating and trying to prevent this from anyone else, like he doesn't want to see anyone else go through this. He is pissed off about the judges, right? So the judges, he's mad at them because all of these blank offenders, you know what I'm talking about, are going in and out of prison, right? The sentencing the sentence for them was very minimum. So they would go in and they would go out. They would go in and they would go out. So John Walsh is making this known, like, hey, why do these repeat offenders keep getting out? So now he's pointing his finger at the judges, like, hey, you guys, So now as he's advocating, going all over the country, it's now, so we're in 84, so 81, 82, 83, so 84. So now we're going into 1984. In 1984, he was a huge leader for for a group of advocates. And what they did was they, of course, lobbied, right? You have to go lobby. And they founded, guess what they founded? The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Now, the NCMEC, okay? So they founded that. That started with John Walsh. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. Anyways, so they have the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. However, this is a small office in Washington, D.C., right? So they moved from the Resource Center in South Florida. Now they have a small little office in Washington, D.C., and this is all in 1984. So he's just moving on. He's going for it. He's doing his thing. So that same year, 1984, this is what I just made. Sorry. So that same year in 1984, he actually, Congress, because like I said, he's lobbying, right? So when you have to lobby, you have to go out there and state your purpose of like the law, or then, whatever you need to do. So he's out there. So his whole, all that advocating, all of that, Congress ended up passing what they call the Missing Children Assistance Act. Now, this is a new legislation, and this is designated to the NCMEC as the National Clearinghouse and Resource Center. Not only that, but now they have a partner, right? But they are with, yes, the Justice Department. Wah, 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 wah. Okay, so now they're with the Justice Department, right? So this is huge. So now he's with the big dog, right? Now they're with the big dogs. I'm going to do another one. So he's with the big dogs. Now, Adam's story, right? John Walsh was not going to let his story just like, just stop when they found him. He continued to advocate, change some laws. We have some new acts. We have new legislation now, right? So the whole thing that happened with Adam is just tragic. I mean, tragic. Just a hit, like, to everybody. And but you gotta, the one thing that he always said was he was not going to give up hope and faith. He wasn't going to do that. And a lot of us tend to do that we could lose a job and lose faith and lose hope, lose a loved one and we're done, right? So, but he just kept going. So the one thing that I always try to do is like, I think about like things, and I always think about like he's really actually like he's my hero, honestly. I wish, man, if I could meet him one day and just like shake his hand. Anyways, so continuing on. So now we're like past like 84, right? So he's now becoming this huge crime fighter. He's like a hero. But a hero like not going out there like flying in the sky, but a hero like standing up to like Congress and doing what needs to be done and getting stuff done. So he's just fighting crime. So what does he do? Do you remember what John Walsh did? In 1988, he hosted America's Most Wanted. Oh my gosh, I love that show. And actually, it just came back last year. So there's some new shows on Fox. I just read about it today, so I've been missing them, which I love that show. So that show went on for 25 years, right? And after America's Most Wanted, after that ran for 25 years, he ended up going on to The Hunt with John Walsh. And I think it was CNN, I believe. And then after that, he continued and went on to In Pursuit with John Walsh and his son, Callahan. So yes, him and his wife ended up having 3 children after, Adam. And so him and his son are hosting, the show. I don't know if that show is still on, honestly. But yeah, so they're doing that. So he's doing the America's Most Wanted again. That just started up, I want to say last year. I could be wrong. But anyways, so now we're in what, 1988, or he's doing his thing. He's just hustling along. So check this out. So in 1996, the suspect, or the person that John Walsh knew in his gut was the suspect, or the criminal that did this crime to his son, is in prison, but he's deceased now, right? In 1996, he just, whatever, for I don't even know what reasons, but John Walsh said, I always knew it was him. And so what he did was he ended up hiring a private investigator, and the private investigator was a retired homicide detective. And I don't know if I put where he came from, because I don't think he was in Hollywood. I think I'm looking at my notes. I believe the retired PI, I want to say Florida, but it wasn't Hollywood, Florida. And then so he hired him, right, to do his own investigating and find out like who did this. So along with that, now we're back in Hollywood, Florida, and there's a new police chief, okay? and the police chief is, what's his name? Chad Wagner. So, Chad Wagner is now the new police chief in Hollywood, Florida. And he decides to take another look at the case. So now, along with the evidence or with the findings that Joe Matthews, that's his name, sorry, the private investigator, his name is Joe. So with all the stuff that he has, and then with the new investigation that Chad did, they of course collaborate, right? And they have all of this, like, just, we'll call it circumstantial evidence, right? So now they have all this circumstantial evidence, and in 2006, I believe, no, I'm sorry, 2008. So on December 16th, 2008, there was a press conference, and Chad said there was so much circumstantial evidence against this O'Toole guy that if he were still alive, then they would have prosecuted him to the fullest. So in other words, John Walsh was right. Of course he was. I mean, come on. We're parents. I'm not sure. I shouldn't say that. I'm a parent. But when you have that gut instinct when it comes to your children, like, that's something you cannot ignore. And you know it. And no matter what people say, they're probably going to make you think you're crazy. No, you're not. So he was right. And so, I mean, the guy was already gone already. But, hey, he was still right. So, at least... you'll never get closure. I can't even say you got closure, because you'll never get closure with when a child is taken the way that Adam was taken and what happened to him, and there's just no way you're going to get closure. It doesn't matter. But taking that tragic, just horrific, just, I don't even want to, what do I call it, incident? I mean, come on. I mean, there's some monsters in the world. I mean, still always will be. But, yeah, so taking that incident and turning and just flipping it around, just doing a whole, just flipping it. And, I mean, fighting crime. We have new laws. Oh, we have new laws, speaking of. So, that was in 2006. I'm sorry, I'm not done. So now, or 2008. So now, what happened was, they actually, here was it, I must have skipped it. Okay, so it was 2000, so 2006, that's right, I said 2006. So before they announced O'Toole being the actual guy, in 2006, let me back up, John also advocated for, the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act. Take a guess what that is. If you can guess what the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act is, you got 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Yes, that is for the National Blank Offender Registry, right? I mean, we think about it. Today is like, okay, yeah, it's there. But this man, John Walsh, who I grew up with, watching him all the time, but from just living in fear, after seeing that, I'm not kidding you, I would walk to the bus stop to catch the school bus in the morning, and I just remember thinking, the car can come up and kidnap me, and I'm just this cute little tiny little thing, but so yeah, so he's the one that came up, of course, advocated. This took a lot of work. It really took a lot of work. So, a big hand for John Walsh. Yay, he is my hero. I would love to just meet him and say hello and just let him know how see, I'm getting teary. I'm not gonna cry. How I just really admire him and his wife. There was some trouble, they had a little bit of trouble, I want to say, I think they might even, one of them filed for divorce, but they never did. They never did. So currently, as of 2024, because this is where my sources from is 2024, John and his wife are still involved with the national with the NCMEC, and they're located in Alexandria, Virginia. And since I'm sorry, they're not located there. They're actually somewhere else. But the NCMEC is there in Virginia. And since 1984, they have handled over 5 million cases. And I want to say the two of them have been married over 40 years, I want to say. I could be wrong. I know I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. So yeah, so they're still very much involved with the NCMEC, and taking care of business. And I'll tell you what, man, that's a lot of work. So I'm sure that I'm sure they had their problems, and one of them filed for divorce, like I said, but they didn't go through with it, which is great, because I feel like they are just, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just glad that they end up staying together. So anyways, there's my next little, so during the time that we were talking, story time, that's what I made. So I'm gonna put a little bit of Mod Podge on there. But anyways, so this is, like I said, part 1 of the 2-part series. So, and again, the title of this episode or series is Stranger Danger and Sealed Bottles. Take a guess what that is. So, I'm going to be posting the videos maybe Wednesday, Friday. So the Wednesday will be the GENX stories, and then on Fridays I will have the current crime cases that are going on. And I don't know if you guys can see, but so see that whiteboard over there? That is the cases that we're going to be talking about. Woohoo! So I'm so excited. I really hope this channel works out. I'm hoping that you guys, if you guys liked it, subscribe. And if you didn't like it, then, like my mom used to always say, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say nothing at all. But anyways, so I will upload this on Wednesday, and then on Friday we will go over one of the cases, and then the following week I'll do part 2 of this series, and then on Friday we'll do a different case or part 2, just depending. But I did have a request from actually one of my subscribers already, which I'm totally stoked about. So if you guys have any ideas, make a comment or email me. My email address should be listed. And yeah, so we're going to be doing some fun stuff. The idea that was thrown out to me was like East Coast rap, West Coast rap, but in the 80s. Oh my gosh, yeah, so much. I'm so excited about this. So thank you for joining. I am just about out of time, so I actually did pretty good on time. I got 2 of the little arts and craft little glasses done, and I hope you enjoyed the story. It's just gonna be quick little things like this. We can do some, I don't know, you guys let me know what you want. I'll handle it. I'll handle the rest. Thank you for joining, and I will see you next time on Cassette Tapes and Court Dates. Bye.